Hello everyone, my name is Sheila and welcome to our channel. So today's video is about part 2 of our experience availing the repatriation from Dubai going to our province in Surigao City. So if you haven't watched the part 1 yet, it will be linked down below. Part 2 will be covering from getting our COVID results until getting our certification of completion for the 14-day quarantine here in Surigao City. So without further ado, let's get started. Just a very quick background. We've been stranded in Dubai for 6 months and it became very hard for us to go back to the country that we were working. So we decided to go back to the Philippines. And we availed this repatriation program below the part 1, which covers the application until we arrived in Manila in our quarantine facility. So today's video will be about our experience from Manila going to our province in Surigao City until we have done our quarantine and receive our certificates of completion from quarantine. So yeah, just a very quick disclaimer though, this is my own experience, and maybe in some other provinces they will have different experiences, or they will have different protocols that you need to undertake. So we thought of gathering all the information and compiling them up so that some people would benefit from it, and that they would learn the things that they can avoid or the things that they need to expect while availing this repatriation from our government, the OWA, the FA, and all the government agencies that make all these things possible. Okay, let's start from getting the COVID test results. We get actually our test results less than 24 hours. But we are not yet allowed to go out unless it will be directed by the OWA officer. So we stayed in a room, we take a screenshot of the email that they send us, and then we send it to the group chat that I was talking about for all the OFW in that particular hotel, and then wait for the further instruction. So we waited for another 24 hours before we get a call that we are allowed to go down and check out from the hotel. So in total, we stayed in the hotel for 2 nights and 2 days. So we check out from the hotel around 11 in the morning. It's just a normal checking out process. And we ride a bus going to the airport. Some, they took taxi, others, they are fetched by their family members, and still others, they ride a bus going to PTX, where they would transfer to a bus that would bring them to their respective provinces. Okay, so in the airport, the guard will ask you of your negative result before you can enter the airport. And when you enter, there will be different names of the provinces. Depending on where you are going, you will line up. There's a queue there so that you can get your priority number. So they have priority also for the PWD, the pregnant women, and the children. And they are giving numbers, and they will just call your number after you get your priority number. They will call your number so that you will line up going to the check-in counters. So they are allowing 20 batches of 20 people who will go to the check-in counters. So after you get your turn, you will go now to another part of the building where the check-in counters are. So you would wait there until it will be your time. So upon checking in, it's just a normal check-in, and since it is a repatriation flight, we don't pay anything. They just give us the boarding pass, and you need to fill out some forms from OWA as well. And then just a normal checking in, you will give your luggage, and there's no luggage limit, and it's a good thing also. And there is security, the just a normal thing that you do when you check in. And then after that, you will wait for your flights in the boarding gate. So we arrived there maybe around 1 or 2. Our flight will be 4 o'clock, and we waited in the boarding gate until our flight is ready. Okay, so upon entering the airport, it's very crowded and there are a lot of people. But when you go in the boarding gate, because they've been controlling the people who go in, so it's spacious and you can really exercise social distancing. So we were waiting in the boarding gate, and we are informed that since passengers going to Butuan is there's just few of us, so they let us join the passengers going to Davao. So the flight that we are taking, it will go straight to Davao and then go back and land in Butuan. But then we don't need to go down, just waited for the plane to fly back so that we can reach Butuan City. It took about 1 hour and a half, 1 hour going to Davao, and then another and half hour going to Butuan City. Okay, so upon deplaning in Butuan City, they disinfect us, like they really literally disinfect us. Okay, so it's kind of reassuring because you would know that they really do their best to stop this pandemic, and we appreciate that. Okay, so we claim our baggage. It's just a small airport, so upon entering, you will just see there your luggage, and then we get it, and there's a small OWA orientation of the things that we should go through, and the things that we should do and we should not do, and something like that. And just listen very carefully. And for me, the orientation basically said that just follow the local government protocol as they implement it with respect to the city or with respect to different provinces. And they also said that the OWA coordination ends there. So after our city officers or health officers would fetch us, then that will be the end of OWA's responsibility with regards to the repatriation. So they made it very clear. And some of the people with us, some provinces, they arrive early. So that night, by the way, we arrived about 9 in the evening. So some province, they arrived early, so they were able to go back to their provinces the same night. But as for us, we are asked to stay in a hotel in Butuan arranged by the OWA, and we are scheduled to go to our respective province the next day. So it's our first time in the Philippines to be in the province during this pandemic, and we ride it's a public vehicle there. We called it multicab, and they put some like divisions, so it's kind of cool. It's like we are little birds in the nest with different sections on it. And yeah, we checked in the hotel, and the accommodation, we are very thankful for that. We checked out the next day, and we waited for our vehicle who will transport us from Butuan to Surigao. So it's like being in a, oh, it's like the, what do you call this, the North Korean, I don't, the Cloy, yeah, the Cloy. It's like the Cloy that this government will um, transport us in the border, and our own government will fetch us there in the border. So there's like a border pass. Okay, so it's kind of cool. I'm kind of reminded of our land trip crossing a country border. So it's kind of like the feeling is kind of like that. We should not, there are things that we should not do, and should stay in the vehicle and something like that. So we went in the place called Kicharao, if you're familiar. That is the boundary of Butuan and Surigao. So there they transfer us into an ambulance going to the, like, the COVID testing facility, the rapid testing facility in Surigao City. And we are now in the Surigao jurisdiction. So your barangay also will give you a certificate of residence, because I don't know, they didn't ask it from us, but our barangay captain sent us a copy of our residence certificate that we reside in that particular barangay, so that they will have a proof that your barangay knows that you are coming, and therefore arrange or facilitate your quarantine. So that's very important. So when we arrive in Badass, it's the capital of the Surigao del Norte province. So they have their provincial hospital there, and they have a testing facility for rapid testing. And yeah, since our negative result from swab testing in Manila is still valid, we don't have to undergo rapid testing there. So we just waited there for the Surigao City transport vehicle to arrive, so that we can go to our quarantine facility right away. Okay, so when Surigao City transport vehicle arrived, they brought us to our quarantine facility. So at this part, I would be very careful in explaining it to you. We end up in a home quarantine. Here in Surigao, you should be in a quarantine facility given or arranged by the barangay. But in our case, we have a minor, and we also have an available house for us to be quarantined. Like, nobody is there, only us in that house. And prior to that as well, the city health officer went there before we arrived. He went there and inspect the place if it is ready for quarantine, or if it passed the requirement, and it did. So we end up in a home quarantine. And after we arrived there, the city health officer went there to orient us of the do's and don'ts, the rules of quarantine. And it's a 14-day quarantine. It means that when we arrive, the next day will be the count as one, and then the following days. And in day 15th, we are now allowed to go out, and it's the Independence Day. Okay, so he also informed us that we are to monitor our temperature and send to him on daily basis our body temperature, and from time to time he will also visit us there in the facility. And yeah, it's a long travel time. Now we are in the quarantine facility, and we have time to rest, and we rested. And yeah, it's just like in Manila, our family will just put the food and supplies and the gate, and then we will just take it, because we're not allowed to go outside, and they are not allowed to go inside also. So yeah, after 14 days, on the 15th day, we are now allowed to go out, and the 14 quarantine day is completed. So the city health officer went again. So he came and checked our like body temperature and gave us this little note that we can submit to the city health headquarters to get our certification. So the very first thing that we did after the quarantine was to go to the city health headquarters, or the city health office, to get the certification for your completion of the 14-day quarantine. You need to go to the city health headquarters or city health office, and then give that small paper from the city health officer in your barangay and give it to the security, and he will be the one to process it and like that, and he will ask you to fall in line in the queue so that the doctor can check on you. So that a doctor will inspect you if you have if you have symptoms or whatsoever, and then upon the approval of the doctor, you will now wait for the release of your certificate. So it will only take like maybe 2 hours at that time. Their service time would just be from 3 in the afternoon until 4 in the afternoon. So that window, it's the releasing of the certification for completion of quarantine or 14-day quarantine. So yeah, just be early there. We arrive maybe 3:45, and they still accept us, and we stayed there for another hour before we get the certificate. But it's a smooth process. You just need to be patient and bring an umbrella because the queue is outside the building. So yeah, that's it. So thank you so much for all the barangay officers, even the city health officers who facilitated all these things. I know that you did your best, and yeah, God bless and more power. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you gained some value here. If you do, please don't forget to like, hit the subscribe button. It will really help our channel. And yeah, be safe, God bless, and see you on our next video. Bye bye.